Welcome back to Titan Vans. I'm Matt North, and today we're going to be showcasing our Ultra 144 model. We specialize in customized, built-to-order vans, which allows you to select your base model and then select from numerous options to further customize your van. In this video, we're going to be showing you the base features that are included with the Ultra 144, as well as the specific options that this customer chose. So, let's jump in. Here at the slider door, we have a split galley design, so the sink is actually on the other side. We'll get to that. On this side, we have our induction cooktop, fridge, and storage. This is the Drawer 85. This is made by Isotherm. What I really like about it in this orientation is that it gives us access both inside and outside the van. They come with quite large freezers, so that's one of the advantages to the drawer models as opposed to the door models. So they make a door 85, but much smaller freezer, and you can imagine as you hinge that door, makes it a little bit harder to access from both sides. There's also an additional slide out tray underneath, so really for this size fridge, quite a bit of storage. I'd say plenty for 3 to 5 days worth of food, and you can always just restock while you're on the road. Up above, we have some additional storage. You can use it to store some of your cutlery, pots and pans, or whatever sort of knickknacks you have, all on soft close hardware, and we utilize marine grade latches for all of the drawers and doors throughout the van. Now, we've ended the cabinet here instead of bringing it all the way out to the edge of this floor, and that's primarily to give room to be able to walk through here even if you opt for the foldaway seat here on the driver's side. Now, standard on the Ultra 144 is going to be a small couch that has an integrated Lagoon tabletop on it. But if you need additional DOT-approved seats with seat belts, child seat restraints, then we have this as an option. So this is our foldaway seat option here. So you can see it has 3-point harnesses. Also has the indicators for the child seat restraint, so we're going to have the hooks down here for clipping in and out booster seats or car seats. So this has some recline, so we can adjust how much this reclines, or kind of, it's got a little bit of adjustment there. But the bigger functionality with these foldaway seats is its ability to actually store when not in use. So we can dump the backrest down, hit the release, and then lift to store the seat when not in use. So this frees up, obviously, a lot of living space if you don't need the seating down. But if you do need to carry passengers and do it safely and legally, then this is a great option. And again, we'll replace the couch that normally comes here on our base Ultra 144. Up front here, you'll also notice we have some additional storage above the driver and passenger seat. This is called our headliner shelf. This is an option on all of our models. Doesn't come standard, but it's an easy addition. Can also be added later on if you ever wanted to bring the van back for some upgrades. And here you can see we have stored our window shade set. So this is a full set for every single window and fan in the build, including the bunk windows in the back, slider door, driver window, and all of our front windows as well. So these are fully insulated. They're magnetic window shades. You can actually leave them in place as well, so you don't have to keep them in this bundle like this. We just kind of keep them all wrapped up for customers before we deliver the vans, but gives you a nice place to store them. So if you're not storing window shades up here, obviously you get a lot of nice storage. Right above me here at the slider door, we have our smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, as well as our fire extinguisher. These are now standard on all of our builds. So we have a quick disconnect fitting on our fire extinguisher. So if you need it, you can quick release, pops right out like that. So really nice, not going anywhere when you're going down the road, locks into place securely, and is there in the event that you need it. So again, just some nice safety features. These are now standard on all models, Sprinter 144, 170, as well as all of our transit builds. Okay, our shower stall. This is a multifunctional shower stall. This unit has a lot of different ways you can utilize it. Obviously you see the toilet, so this is the smaller shower stall, so dimensions are 24 inches by 24 inches. So it does require utilizing it with sort of your feet sticking out the front here. Now you can always roll down this for a little bit of privacy. So I'll show you how that works in just a minute. But obviously it's a wet bath, so we have the toilet. It can be popped in and out. I'll show you how that works. We can use it for storing equipment. So you can see throughout the shower stall, we have attachment points. These are the same L-track fittings that are on the floor. So we can clip these in and out. We can strap up skis, wetsuits, fly fishing gear, rain jackets, towels, hang them up in here. And we actually duct the furnace, so that's the hot air. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's the diesel-powered furnace made by Webasto. Those tap right into the fuel tanks, produce hot air. So that's going to be, we have 2 registers. We have one down below here that heats the main cabin, and we actually duct the other one right into the shower stall, which is going to allow you to use this as a drying area. So again, hanging up all that equipment, kick on the heater if you need to. It'll drip dry, obviously goes right down into the gray water tank that's mounted underneath the vehicle. Okay, so that's another use of this. Now with that heater in there, we can also use this as a sauna. Gets up to about 160 degrees when you're cranking that furnace, so quite warm. You know, maybe not as hot as some people like their saunas, but still is a great function for wintertime use. If you're gonna be skiing, you wanna come back, get nice and warm, sweat, rinse off in the shower, gives you some nice versatility. And last but not least, obviously, is the shower itself. So we have the shower head up here, a little holder for it, and a quick disconnect fitting. So this quick disconnect allows you to take this down so you're not traveling with it going down the road. It's slapping up against the walls and making a whole bunch of noise. So you can take this and just store it out of the way when it's not needed, and then just put it up if you do need it. So that's kind of a nice feature there. To take out the toilet, we use a dual lock on the floor. So it's essentially like a really heavy duty sort of Velcro. So we'll pop this out. Okay, so it clips right out. You can see the dual lock on the bottom. We have the receiving side on the floor there. You can obviously travel with or without the toilet in, but we have our modular shower stall. So when not in use, we can actually go ahead and slide this whole mechanism back. You can see how much space we just freed up, right? But if we need to go ahead and take the shower, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll down the main shower curtain here, use the zippers. I can now slide the whole shower curtain out, and then I can use the magnetic closure to get in and out of the shower stall. Okay, so with this, obviously it gets a lot bigger in here. Kind of hard to showcase this, but I'll get in, try, give it a shot anyways here. Okay, so for context, I'm about 6'3", right around 200 pounds. So I can fit very comfortably in here. I have plenty of arm space, can move around, you know, so even with the smaller shower curtain, still lots of room to actually be able to utilize this. Now it's angled back, so when this thing actually closes here, we're gonna keep all that water inside. So we have this little lip down at the bottom that's gonna keep all of our water trapped inside, and we have some weights at the bottom of this to make sure it stays nice and secure down below. So you can shower when you're all done, slide on out, and then we can go ahead and reverse this on back. So we'll undo the zippers, and then I can try to show you again kind of the space that you have in there. All right. So with that folded up now, maybe it gives you a little bit better sense of kind of the space that's in here. But once I'm onto the outside, I mean, it's pretty wide. So lots of space, be able to wash, you know, kind of do whatever you need to do. Gives you all that space up high that you need. You know, obviously as you get further back in the shower, it gets a little bit more narrow. So normally when I'm using this, I'm kind of standing towards the outside. But quite comfortable for rinsing off and getting cleaned up. And then obviously saves a lot of space when it's not in use. So lots of great functions here. With the toilet removed, you can also see this register cover here. This is where that hot air is going to come out. So you can leave it closed if you don't want any hot air coming in, or you can open this one all the way up and then we can actually close the one that comes to the main cabin area here. So in that way you can kind of control where the bulk of the hot air is coming out. You could do like both of them partially open, so you get hot air to both locations. So kind of just depending on what you're trying to do there, you can use it in different ways. But it's going to crank out a lot of heat there with the heater. So, all right, moving on back. We have additional undercab lighting under this, touch button as well, turn off and on, additional storage for the overhead cabinets. And then right here, you can see the sink and faucet. So we decided to do the split galley design, not only because of the cabinet and making sure we had space around our seat, but this also allowed us to keep all the water on one side of the van. So this simplifies the plumbing, makes it more of a four-season camper by having less pipe runs, less connections. And you'll notice that we designed the bed cushion specifically to make sure that you still have access to the sink even when in bed mode. So if you're setting up bed, you need to brush your teeth, grab some water in the middle of the night, you're still going to have access to this. So we don't plan on people cooking with the bed out like this, just because it does make it a lot tighter. But at least you still have access to this. You can use it, again, wash your hands, brush teeth, grab some water, do what you need to do for the middle of the night, and then slide the bed back, which will show how that works when you're not in bed mode. All right, with the bedding off, you can see we have a two-part mattress system. This is a queen-size bed. So on the Ultra 144, we're utilizing the fiberglass flares on both the driver and passenger side to extend the bed area. You'll notice on this side, since we have cabinetry, this is where we designed for the feet to go. So we have no window on that side. And then we have a window on the passenger side to give you some ventilation for nighttime. Now, a lot of people like the idea of having windows on both sides. Some things to keep in mind, the reason we designed it this way is the windows stick in about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and so they will decrease your effective sleeping area. So it is 80 inches at the max, fiberglass to fiberglass. So if we had windows on both sides, we're reducing the sleeping space down by an additional 3 to 4 inches. So we're now down to 77, 76 inches window to window. So by only having one window in there, we reduce the amount of space taken up, so bigger sleeping area. And with your feet down on this side, you don't need too much ventilation on that side. You know, putting your head over on this side really wouldn't be nearly as comfortable because it's underneath the cabinetry and it's going to feel a lot more claustrophobic. So that's why we opt for just the single window. And we don't do overhead cabinets on our passenger sides very often because it just makes the van feel so much bigger and open. So because we have the shower stall on this side, we include overhead cabinets along the entire driver's side. But if we also did that on the passenger side, we'd have cabinets sticking out to about here. And so now you're in this much more narrow walkway, which just doesn't feel nearly as comfortable. So those are kind of some of the reasons why we have it oriented the way we do. Sleeping sideways, right? So that's going to be 60 inches by 80 inches, obviously minus a little bit for the window. And then because it's a modular bed system, this is in bed mode. And then if we want to convert to sleeping mode, we'll flip this cushion over, slide it back, and then you can kind of see the bi-slide bed underneath. So make sure our latches are loose underneath. Okay, we can grab the handles here and slide the bed back. So that's as fast as it is to convert back and forth. We now have all of this living space. You can see how much more sort of working space we have here. You can use this as stand desk areas if you need to do work. Just use it as additional food prep space. But we now have much easier access to our sink and all of the storage that's located in the garage area here. So definitely opens up the space drastically, feels a lot bigger, more spacious when you convert the bed back. Okay, moving over to our control panel. So this is where most people are going to be interfacing with the van. This is where you can kind of turn everything off and on from this main area. Now, obviously, you see a lot of vans that have these digital displays, all touch screens. We prefer not to go with these digital touch screens just because when it gets really, really cold out, they stop working. They'll start lagging, you're kind of touching them and they're moving really slow. Also, with those touch screens, everything is controlled from there. So to turn your water pump on, to turn lights on, everything is on that control panel. So if that thing fails for any reason, you can't control the van, right? You can't turn lights on, can't do anything. So we found just from a durability and a long-term use case, we like these analog controls a lot more just because they never fail. The digital controls look real nice, look fancy. You know, sometimes they have some good user interfaces, but we really try and design these vans to be simple, to last a long time, and to work. So that's why we kind of opted for these controls that you see here. So up top we have the inverter, so we can turn the inverter off and on. We then have our breaker panel here, so we can choose which items that are 120 volt AC powered can be turned on. So we can turn the Galley on, we can turn our air conditioner on, and then, you know, we can use the individual remote controls to turn things on. So now that we have power to the Galley, you know, we can turn the induction cooktop on, we can set temperature, and so forth. This also is going to send power to our 120 volt outlet when we flip the Galley switch on, so we can now use this to plug in additional appliances. With the air conditioner, once that's turned on, we can now use the remote control to go ahead and turn it off and on. One more thing that I did forget to mention about the air conditioner, it actually also has a built-in heater in it. Now, I don't recommend using that unless you're running the engine or plugged into shore power, because the Webasto diesel-powered furnace is much more efficient at producing heat than using electricity to produce heat. But it does actually have a built-in heater, so this will put out hot air as well as cold air. You can also set it up as a dehumidifier. So it's got a lot of really nice features sort of baked in to that air conditioner unit. Let's jump to the back of the van. We'll show you some of the systems that are in the back, so the water system and the electrical system. And then we will show you some of the exterior options that are also included on this customized van. Okay, so we're going to start on the driver's side here. We're going to point out some of the plumbing systems. So inside here we have the water pump as well as access to all the plumbing fittings. So they're not buried all over the place. You come to one place to access all of those connections. So it makes it really simple to turn things off and on if needed, or as well for just like maintenance and servicing, is where you also come to winterize the van. So we include with all of our vans our winterization adapter, as well as shore power plugs are now standard for us. So you're going to get a 25-foot shore power plug. But you also have really good storage in here as well. So even though there's some plumbing stored in there, you know, sort of housed inside this, lots of good storage inside this as well. I'll throw this back in. And then down below, we actually put an access door to be able to get to the water heater. So this is the IsoTemp Slim 4-gallon electric water heater. It's a marine grade stainless steel tank. And some of the features that I really like about this unit is that it heats the water up to about 180 degrees. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to heat up, so we always recommend just kicking this on while running the engine, and that's going to, you know, allow the alternator essentially to carry the electrical load. And so when you get to wherever you're camping, you're going to have 100% battery as well as a full tank of nice and hot water. Now, at that 180 degrees, most households are about 120 to 140 degrees, what your output is. So you really don't want 180 degrees coming out at your faucet or your showers. It would burn you very quick. So standard on these is actually what is called a pre-mixer valve. So up on the top here, you actually have a little knob that you can turn in or out, which will adjust the output temperature. So even though there's 180 degrees inside, you can set that output temperature to 110, 120, which is going to allow you to stretch that hot water much, much further. So now we've taken that 4 gallons of really hot water and we get a usable 6, 8, or even up to 10 gallons of usable hot water, and that all just depends on your comfort and what you want your max hot out to be at some of the different fittings inside the van. So the lower you turn that temperature down, the further we can stretch it, okay? All right, moving over to the passenger side, the electrical side. Point out we got additional 120 volt outlet on the back of the cabinet, as well as a 12 volt socket. So if you're using this to blow up paddle boards, you got that socket instead of USBs back here. We also have our undercab light switch. So there's 2 of them, one on the front of the cabinet, as well as our main battery disconnect here. So just flipping this off will shut down the system. This is going to get held up a little bit by the solar. We got some good sun going, but as we turn these things off, we'll see the system will eventually shut down once sort of those like capacitors drain there. And then to re-engage the system, click everything back on here, turn that on, and everything's back and hooked up. Underneath here, we have the utility electrical panel. So we have our solar charge controller up top, also Bluetooth enabled, so we can Bluetooth into this to get some more data. 12-volt fuses. So one thing that I really like that we do is every ground and every power cable for every single appliance in the back of the van comes back to this one location. There are no fuses hidden in the wall panels, in the cabinetry, under the seats, under the van, under the hood. Every single fuse for the van located right here. And every single ground cable, so every cable that grounds an appliance comes right back to here. A lot of ways to shortcut this, and other builders that will just ground to wherever the chassis is at, because obviously these batteries are grounded to the frame. So by just hooking that wire up to some metal piece inside the van, you can technically complete the circuit. And a lot of people do that. There's nothing technically wrong with it, but it's really hard to diagnose these things in the event that you have a bad ground. You're now looking all over the place to figure out which ground failed and where it's located, and pulling panels down and looking under the seats and popping the hood. So every single connection comes right back to this one location. Costs more money to do it, takes more time to run all these wires, but in the end, it makes it a much more durable, much more serviceable electrical system. And those are sort of those nuances that are hard to tell when you're just looking at things on Instagram, but make a massive difference to the customers and the long-term durability of these products. And especially when you imagine that, just putting a screw into a metal piece somewhere, right? Those will eventually vibrate loose. I mean, you can put Loctite on them, but every time you drive these things, they're going through a small earthquake. So trying to design cabinetry, electrical systems, connections, all those things to handle years and years and years of daily driving, all that vibration, requires a higher level of quality control, which is something that just comes standard with every Titan build. Now, our electrical system is one of those things that really sets us apart. There's a lot of resiliency built into our system. So we have one of the only off-grid recoverable systems on the market. And what I mean by that is in the event of low temperature or low voltage, our system can be brought back online, so get the whole electrical system working, batteries recharged, everything re-enabled without outside power. So you don't have to plug in anywhere. You don't have to bring in little heaters inside the van. So many other systems, in the event that you get too low of voltage, so say you left the van sit outside, there was no sun, it was covered in snow. A lot of vans will have heater pads on their lithium-ion batteries because lithium-ion doesn't like to get too cold. You can't charge it when it hits 32 degrees. And you can't run any appliances, so no loads will work at -10 degrees Fahrenheit. So in an effort to keep that from happening, most of these systems are going to have heater pads in them, ours included. But as those heater pads, if it's cold outside, then the heater pads are draining the battery down. Eventually the batteries shut off due to low voltage. Many other systems don't have an ability to recharge the batteries at that point. And so what you have to do is you have to go get a little trickle charger. Maybe you've used them on your motorcycles or something similar to that. But you have to plug it in somewhere. Well, you don't have power inside the van, so you can't plug it into this outlet. The outlet doesn't work. So you have to plug into shore power somewhere, run an extension cord to a house, whatever, and then take the trickle charger and put it right on the battery. Okay? Not in our system. In our system, all you have to do to recover the system is to start the engine, and that's it. Now, if you do have access to shore power, you can also just plug in, and it will also do it. So we have multiple systems just for ease of use. But even if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have access to shore power, all you have to do is start the engine, and we have built-in lithium-ion trickle chargers as well as additional 12-volt DC power supply systems, which will allow the heater pads to work. You can run the Webasto heater, all your lights will work, the fridge will work, fans will work, and that trickle charger will begin pulsing to the lithium-ion battery, so it's called a pulse width modulated signal, to bring that battery back up and online. All built into the system. All you gotta do is start the engine, don't have to do anything else. So this is the Titan EX3. We've done whole videos on this. I could go on for a long time about this electrical system, but check out those other videos if you wanna learn even more details. But definitely one of the things that really sets us apart. So Let's jump to the outside of the van. I'm going to point out some of the features that are included on this vehicle, as some of the base features, as well as the customized options. All right, on the outside of the van, pointing out some of the options that were included on this built to order. So this is also customer selected the wheel and tire package. So you get all 5 wheels, including the spare. So standard spare on the Sprinter is mounted up right by the hitch in the rear of the vehicle. If you get the wheel and tire package, then we swap out all the 4 as well as the spare, so it fits right back in that factory location there. And then as we rotate all the way around the back here, we have some different cargo box options. So we offer a variety of different options. You'll see a few listed on our website, but we do have some additional options that we can do depending on your needs. So this is the B2 carrier here. So it's got these bars on the top, which you can then mount bike racks to. Customer was going to supply their own, so we just installed the rack itself. This is a 30-inch cargo box. So it gives you some really nice storage. They're lockable, and so this customer opted to do cargo boxes on both sides. You can also add some shelving inside of here if you like. 30-inch box on this side as well, same sort of deal. So a lot of outside storage. They're very lightweight. They're all aluminum boxes, powder coated, and again, lockable. You got locks on both sides there. This is a 30-inch box mounted right to an Owl Sherpa here. So this gives us a nice attachment point. You can kind of adjust where you want these boxes. Obviously we set this low enough so it doesn't interfere with his B2 carrier once he does his bike racks across here. Okay. As we rotate around the side here, point out some additional items. We have our shore power plug on the side of the vehicle. So this is new now. This is a 30 amp shore power connection point. So this was upgraded to meet the RVIA standard. So all of our models are now RVIA compliant. And we also have an exterior 120 volt outlet. So if you need to power something outside the van, this comes right off the inverter and off the lithium ion batteries inside the vehicle. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching this Ultra 144 van tour. Hope you liked it and learned something. Make sure if you're interested in any of the options or items that I talked about to check out our website at titanvans.com. Also, hit that like and subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any great content. Until next time, we'll see you on the road.